bunch of hornets dance. Snapback caps at rallies, ready. Spirits never lack. Thoughts and pride with style in the swag sack. In the quad, we ain't never gonna stop. In the quad, we always on top. In the quad, feel the music drop. In the quad, roots run deep.
What's going on, HBCU family? It is Friday. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and change it now. It's Friday, January 31st. We are officially done with the first month in 2025. And you are locked into a brand new episode of In the Quad with Nick Eden. I am your host, Nick Eden. We are back with another phenomenal show. And of course, today I got on my glasses because my uveitis is killing me right now. So what I can't do is have y'all sitting here looking at me look like, dang, look, Nick look just like Forrest Whitaker when his eyes start acting up. But listen, man, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Our brand new time spot this week. Y'all, this has been a bit of an emotional week, especially the last couple of days. Some stuff that I didn't want to speak on, I'll be honest with you, only because right now, almost everything that's happening is being politicized. And I'm over it. I talked about it on Twitter, y'all. It's like at this point, anytime something becomes political, I almost immediately check out, which is not great for my chosen profession because it is my chosen profession. But it's frustrating beyond measure to be in a situation where families, friends, coworkers can't even mourn the death of a loved one or try to work on their next move after losing a job because everything is so politicized and because everything that President Trump is doing is magnified to the point that now everybody has to talk about it. And I think at a certain point, there's a lack of empathy for the people who are actually going through it. And listen, I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. For those who are just tuning in for the first time, In the Quad is a show that covers all, and I mean all, trending topics across the entire Facebook, HBCU landscape. That's Facebook, Twitter, IG, fan base, TikTok, Fizz, Snapchat, you name it, we're talking about it. And we condense it into two parts of the show. First part of the show is our main topics. These are the four main trending topics within the last 24 to 48 hours. And the second part of the show is my favorite, my absolute favorite, is the fam topics, where I actually get to hear from you, your questions and your comments submitted anonymously. And y'all can probably tell, I don't want to cover this stuff, but I have to. I have to, because it's what everybody's talking about. So I want to get right into it. So let's head over to our friends over at HBCU Buzz. Howard University mourns the passing of law professor Kaya Duggins, who was a victim of a very tragic plane crash that we all know about. Let's get right to it. Howard University is grieving the loss of Kaya Duggins, a promising law professor who was among the victims of a devastating mid-air collision near Reagan National Airport on Wednesday evening. The university president, Ben Vinson III, expressed his profound sorrow, stating, "We ask for privacy and respect for Professor Duggins' family, students, and colleagues during this difficult time." Duggins has deep ties to Kansas, having been crowned Miss Butler County in 2014 and 2015. According to Larry Strong, her former pageant director, she was preparing to start her role as a law professor at Howard University this fall. She earned her Juris Doctorate from Harvard Law School, where she served as president of the Harvard Legal Aid Bureau, held a bachelor's degree from Wichita State University. Additionally, she completed a Fulbright grant in Taiwan. Throughout her legal career, she worked in civil rights court, litigating against unconstitutional policing and money bail practices across various states. The fatal accident involved an American Airlines flight carrying 64 people and a military helicopter. Officials have reported that no survivors are expected. As Howard University and the broader community continue to mourn, Professor Duggan's legacy as a scholar and advocate for justice remains a lasting inspiration. Y'all, again, I hate this. I hate this because in the midst of all of this, her family still has to mourn, right? Along with the other 63 people who were on the American Airlines flight and the people who were on the Black Hawk helicopter. Unfortunately, they can't do it right now because everything is so politicized. And unfortunately, we're in a position where it doesn't seem like there's going to be any reprieve from the politicization. I'm telling y'all, I'm out. We're not going to get any reprieve because, of course, Donald Trump comes out and talks about how, we're blaming DEI for it. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Like, how do you feel when it's your family member? How do you feel when it's your loved one, your friend, your colleague, your soror, your frat that's on that plane, and then to see it continue to be politicized and to see people using it to further their agenda, whether you're left leaning or right leaning, it's like, goddamn, where's the empathy, man? Seriously, this is out of control, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. So again, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I'm kind of shaken up by this because it just adds to an already growing sentiment that I just want to detach from all of this because there's just no human thought, human emotion, no empathy, no sympathy to any of this stuff anymore. And we're only 2 weeks into this administration. And I blame both sides for it. I blame both sides for it. I blame the right for being like, see, this is what happens when you have DEI, which is a BS analogy. And look, my advertisers, y'all just gonna have to be mad today. This is a bullshit analogy to throw DEI in the midst of this, even in an official White House statement. And then on the left, it's, oh, look, see, this how bad Trump is. Y'all. Because at the end of the day, y'all are gonna go home. Y'all are gonna go home, right? And I can see, I can already tell now. Somebody's gonna be like, "Well, Nick, let's go ahead and put it out there now." The shirt I have on, Black Men for Harris Walls, that ain't changing. But this is not supposed to be a political debate. This is supposed to be a human emotion and a human empathy debate. What's going on, Sonic Boom? This is supposed to be a human empathetic moment where we're sending out love to everybody, and it's not what's going on right now. Right now, everything is all political, and it sucks. So, to the 64 people on the flight, including Professor Duggins, who lost their lives, my deepest sympathies and prayers for your family. This whole DEI thing, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I really am. And using it to justify a job performance that resulted in so many deaths in our nation's capital like that, it's terrible. It really is. Y'all, we're going to be right back. Quick word from our sponsor, and then we're going to get into our second story of the day. Welcome to School.com, the all-in-one platform for creators and educators to grow communities and deliver courses effortlessly. With School, you can combine learning, engagement, and progress tracking in one simple space. No more juggling tools, just focus on teaching and connecting. Ready to start? Scan the QR code to unlock special perks and join thousands already thriving with School. All right, y'all. Shout out to School for our official sponsor for this episode of Inequality with Nick Eden. Y'all, it's 12 minutes after the hour. Listen, I have talked on this platform before about the importance of Black male teachers. I talked about how Jackson State is the #1 producer of Black teachers in the nation, and that the state of Mississippi should be working with the university to put forth initiatives to recruit more Black men into the education profession. We've all heard the statistics. We've seen them. We've talked about them. How Black men or students who have at least one Black male teacher are more likely to go to college than students who are not. Again, this was something that was in recent years for me. It let me know how lucky and how blessed I was that by the time I graduated high school, I had at least seven Black male teachers, including a principal. So, with that being said, shout out to Morgan State University, who has decided to become very proactive in this. We're going to head over right to the source. We're going to head over to morgan.edu for the story. Morgan State University forms presidential task force to address decline in Black male enrollment. All right, now, I'm going to talk about how this fits into the teacher landscape, or largely. The State of Black Male Enrollment Initiative will investigate the university's 14% decrease in critical student population and recommend solutions to reverse the trend. In response to the alarming decline in Black male enrollment at Morgan State University, Maryland's largest HBCU, and one of the nation's fastest rising research institutions, University President David K. Wilson has announced the formation of the Presidential Task Force on the State of Black Male Enrollment at Morgan. This initiative will examine the underlying causes of declining enrollment and retention of Black males in higher education while developing actionable solutions to reverse the trend at Morgan and possibly across HBCUs nationwide. The formation of this task force allows for the recent release of data from the American Institute for Boys and Men, which highlights a 25% drop in Black male enrollment at HBCUs since 2010, a rate exceeding the 22% decline seen across all U.S. Higher education institutes. While Morgan has continued to set record-breaking total enrollment figures, becoming the nation's third largest HBCU last fall, its percentage of Black male students has decreased from 43% in 2015 to 37% in fall of 2024, mirroring national trends. The issue has become a critical concern for President Wilson and the campus community, including students who have personally shared their concerns with him. I want y'all to read the entire thing, but I wanted to first shout out Morgan State for going and being proactive in this initiative. But in addition to that, the thing about it that makes it tie into the whole Black male educators is because what you have in these situations, what you have in these situations is there's not a steady path that's offered very much when it comes to this. I talked to some folks from Morgan when I read it, because the story just came out today. And I talked to some folks from Morgan, and they were saying that one of the big emphasis on it is STEM and education, because they do recognize that there's a deficit in the Black male population of teachers. And so you add how this all kind of rolls around, Black male teachers being the a catalyst for a lot of people, not just Black men, but a lot of people going to college. Now you get a chance to attack it from both ends. You put out more teachers, and putting out more teachers, you influence more people to go to college, which includes Black men, which can include a steady rise in enrollment that can battle the decline that we have right now. I've seen this happen at other universities. I've seen situations where a lot of times, it's crazy that in my education consulting life, more often than not, Black males are the lowest population of folks that I consult, right? I do think that a portion of that comes from the nurturing within the school system that Black men are not getting, right? And we know that our education system is largely dominated by white female teachers. And quite frankly, studies have shown, the proof is there, they don't show that same level of dedication to Black males as they do to other demographics, even when it comes to Hispanic males, white males, Black females, the whole nine, which has often led to increasingly high rate of a misdiagnosis of ADHD, which I could do a whole show on it. And before anybody gets to thinking, no, I'm not turning in to Dr. Umar. But one thing I will say about his research and his work within ADHD diagnosis and how it affects Black and brown males in the education system, he's spot on. So say all that to say, I think this is an incredible initiative. I think it's something that this presidential task force, these findings, again, can not only be great for Morgan State, but it can also be great for HBCUs across the landscape. And I do think that it is time that we do look into the programs that are more appealing to young Black men. We have to look into that. I would love to see those numbers paired up against the numbers of HBCU community colleges who offer trades, because one thing I will say, a lot of times when this research comes out about Black males, it does seem to leave out those who go into the trade force. So I would love to see what exactly that. I did not need to see that while I was. I can't tell y'all what that was. I would love to see what that looks like going forward. All right, y'all. So we're going to take our first commercial break. When we come back, unfortunately, we have to talk about another passing of HBCU coach. We're talking about the issues that are rising over at Tennessee State. And Shilo Sanders, boy, we're going to deconstruct his half a second take on the president. And what that looks like for us going forward. Y'all, it's In the Quad with Nick Eden. We'll be right back.
Happy birthday, Dad.
Happy birthday.
I got you something.
We said no gift.
We had to get you something.
Thank you, honey.
I got you this.
Did you do this yourself?
Yeah, I had a great teacher.
Happy birthday.
I love you.
I love you too.
Love you. Thank you.
This is from me to you.
I am genius.
Now Taxes is getting the TurboTax app and filing your taxes yourself 100% free if you didn't file with us last year. Now this is taxes. File free in the app by 2/18. When you switch to TurboTax, do it
So I
yourself.
trust everyone's read the prospectus. Lance? Why don't you take us through it?
Let's get into the prospectus.
Okay.
I am genius.
All right, y'all, 21 minutes after the hour, you are locked into a brand new episode of In the Quad with Nick Eden. It's Freestyle Friday. So that means that 9 times out of 10, I'm going to F something up, which I did not do. I did not do the graphic. No, I did. Okay. I know it wasn't crazy. I did the graphic for Tennessee State. I just didn't load it. It's all good, though. It's all good because what we're going to do is, let me just do a little bit of finagling around here. And we're just going to go right to the story. No need to screw it up. Yes, I want to share my screen. I don't know why. I don't know why it does this. It can't believe. Kills me. All right, y'all. Now let me make sure. Okay, that works. TSU holds public meeting amid concerns over financial instability. In April, TSU students and supporters were working to sue the state, claiming that the HBCUs are missing nearly 13, that HBCUs, and this is a general number, this is not the Tennessee State number, are missing nearly $13 billion in federal funding and state funding. TSU, historically Black College and University, announced plans for public meeting at noon, Friday, January 31st. That was a public meeting. They actually had a meeting last night, and the night before last. And interim president Dwayne Tucker talked about this, but this is kind of I want to get the cliff notes from this meeting. But the Board of Trustees called a meeting as part of its effort to work with State Building Commission to ensure a stable future and discuss the quarterly calendar and receive training on financial exigency, led by Deanna McCormick, a consultant whom Tennessee Higher Education Commission shared with the board. They faced a few issues. I talked about last month how they appointed TSU Board of Trustee member Dwayne Tucker as the interim president while they fix all this stuff that's going on. He was hired after the resignation of Dr. Robert Johnson, who took over when Dr. Glover retired last June. Now, I don't even really have to show this, but we're gonna talk about the meeting. Here's the deal. I've been staying close to this story for the last 2 months intently, and then kind of overall over the course of the last year since Dr. Glover left. There are a couple things that come out of it. TSU is owed about $2 billion from the state. This we know. We know when this issue came up, we also know that Dr. Glover was one of the people who pursued it. Now, before anybody says that I'm about to be on some conspiracy theory stuff, that's not the case. I'm breaking down the timeline of what happens. The Biden administration puts out the letter saying, hey, these schools have been underfunded. The state did not match the federal funding for these land grant institutions, and it goes all the way back to the 1800s. This is what each school is owed. Tennessee State is owed $2.1 billion. Tennessee State should really be on par with the University of Tennessee. That's just the truth. They open an investigation. Dr. Glover goes to talk about it. All of a sudden, you've got this audit. The first thing that happens, the entire Board of Trustees is completely removed, and installed by Governor Bill Lee is all of these new folks. Now, it was, hey, they are TSU alums, so they have a care for this system. Okay, great. Dr. Glover resigns in June. Dr. Johnson is appointed. One of the first things that he does is he brings Dr. Glover in on a retainer to the amount of $800,000. Shout out for the bag, but they very much so overspent. Once these things start to come out, Dr. Johnson, he resigns. He's like, F y'all, this ain't what y'all said it was going to be. I'm out. A couple of days later, Mr. Tucker comes in, who was over the finance committee at the TSU Foundation, on the Board of Trustees, and the president and CEO of Lead Charter Schools. So he takes over the position as interim president at no salary, and immediately some things start to happen. This is where it starts to get a little funny. Dr. Reggie McDonald, and in transparency, Dr. Reggie McDonald is my frat brother. He's a member of Phi Alpha Fraternity of America. We were both initiated at the Delta Beta chapter at Alabama State. He's older than me, so while we did not have time together in college, we have interacted before. I just want to put that out before anybody says there's any kind of favoritism. He gets put on leave amid audits of, overspending by the aristocratic bands, the TSU marching band. That's the official story. Without delving too much into several sources that have reached out to me and that I've reached out to, one of which held a position on their accelerated partnership with Meharry on their selection committee. I'm just not saying the name. The sentiment is this. They agree, and this is what I'm getting from, these are people who work at TSU, people who, faculty or staff work at TSU. They agree that Dr. Glover overspent, that Dr. Glover wasn't necessarily, from a fiscal standpoint, the most fiscally responsible president that they could have had. They agree that she overspent. The feeling is that anyone who the Board of Trustees has deemed a Dr. Glover loyalist is on the chopping block. Now, I've heard conflicting stories that will say that is not Reggie McDonald. He wasn't a quote-unquote loyalist, but the feeling is that he did get a lot of leeway in the things that he wanted to do, and that just he wasn't tracked very much. We've talked about how bands are treated by the universities and the money that, even though the band is very often the face of the university, does not get the same level of financial support. I could talk about that all day. But the feeling is, A, that they agree that Dr. Glover wasn't best for the spending of the university, that she probably felt like they were going to come through with the money, so she just spent a little more frivolously than she probably should have. But that now they're just on a warpath, and you have people who are, to quote one, we're just waiting any day to be sent home. They've already furloughed, that's why I had the article up. They've already furloughed 114 employees. The recommendation from the state was that Tennessee State fire the rest of the staff, put itself up for sale, whatever the case may be, but which I think is absolutely insane. But that's the first feeling. The second feeling is that from the staff, that even the ones that are not loyal to or weren't loyal to Dr. Glover, the feeling is because that recommendation has come down, they don't know if they have enough capital to operate until May. They don't know that they're going to make it to the May commencement, and they can damn sure forget about the fall. That's the feeling. Has that been substantiated yet? No. But it is a valid concern amongst the staff. Now, Wednesday night, Interim President Dwayne Tucker, he addressed the historic underfunding. And this is the part that is concerning for me. Shout out to Danny D. Glover. I did not screenshot this. I'm just going to read it. Tonight, TSU President Dwayne Tucker addressed historic underfunding. 2 letters to Governor Lee. The first letter identified $2.1 billion in underfunding for Tennessee State University based on a third-party analysis. However, it does not compel the state to act. It was merely an estimate. The second letter, sent in early January, shifted focus. It strongly encouraged states to work with local legislatures to determine actual underfunding amounts rather than relying on the $2.1 billion figure. It also praised Tennessee's existing process for addressing underfunding. Now, he brought Florida precedent. A similar $1.3 billion underfunding claim in Florida led to a lawsuit, which was dismissed. I talked about that last year. The judge allowed a refile, but no funds have been awarded. This sets a legal precedent that makes litigation over the $2.1 billion claim unlikely to succeed. It is also important to note that in Florida, specifically Florida A&M, that lawsuit was dismissed, and there were several people who were replaced and installed. And I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to say this. I am a friend of the current interim president at Florida A&M. He was directly appointed by Ron DeSantis. I have concerns. But the $540 million agreement, excuse the train. Tennessee legislature has already identified $540 million in underfunding through a nonpartisan process. Of this, $250 million was allocated, with $151 million still available. This is real actionable funding that can be used for operational costs, deferred maintenance, and campus modernization. Seriously? We live. Any other time, I just go ahead and cut it out. We live. So they put together a sustainability plan, a 5-year plan. But essentially, what they're saying what they're saying is, bruh, what they're saying is that the 2.1 billion, y'all can forget about that. Of that 2.1 billion, we agree that we underfunded y'all by 540 million. Sorry. They got $151 million left to give Tennessee State University. But this is the crazy part. They're talking about, hey, we're suggesting that you close, even though that $151 million could settle everything that you needed to settle and get y'all not only back on track, but flush, but we're recommending that you close. That should let you know they have no intention of giving them folks this daggone money. That's just the truth. That is just the truth. They don't have the intention of it, or at the very least, they had no intention of giving it to them while Dr. Glover was there. Now, whether you agree with that or you don't agree with that, that's not for me to decide. But if you're telling me that y'all can forget this 2.1 billion and we're only going to give you a quarter, we're only going to give you a quarter of that, of which we've given you a little bit more than half, and now we want you to close in an effort to get the rest. Insane. Absolutely insane. But I'd like to know what you hear about. TSU alums, y'all always on my Twitter. Whenever I put y'all on the calendar to talk about y'all, I'd love to hear what you got to say about this. Head on over to @NickEaton on Twitter. Let me know what you think. Y'all, we're going to take our second commercial break. Let this daggone train go through. And then when we come back, we're going to get to the rest of the show. It's In the Quad with Nick Eden.
Now Taxes is getting the TurboTax app and filing your taxes yourself 100% free if you didn't file with us last year. Now this is Taxes. File free in the app by 2/18 when you switch to TurboTax Do It Yourself.
From now on, it's all about us. Starting a family, buying a car, our first home.
They told you to open an account, then turned you away. They said, come back when you're ready. You said, we're ready now.
I know we're going to make it.
Hope makes it happen. Thousands of your neighbors, many who never had a bank account before, improved their lives with Hope Credit Union. You can too. Brighter futures begin with Hope.
So I trust everyone's read the prospectus. Lance? Why don't you take us through it?
Let's get into the prospectus.
Okay.
All right, y'all, 36 minutes after the hour, you're locked into In the Quad with Nick Eden. We're right in the middle of our main topics. Hey, look, I want to say this really quickly. Before I get to our next topic. Again, I just didn't want to bring the tone of the show down, but I did want to give a rest in peace to former Fort Valley State head coach Samuel Jackson, who was found dead in Atlanta after being reported missing earlier in the week. Jackson, and this story comes to us from HBCU Game Day. Jackson coached 8 seasons at Fort Valley State. He was reported missing on Monday after he never returned home from his job driving Uber. His car was located later that day at Bon Air. The car was unlocked and items were scattered. They located the car later, and it's really questionable. It's not clear if foul play is detected or suspected of the death at the time. The investigation is still going. I also think, man, I got to be honest with y'all. it's kind of crazy that the man was driving Uber after being a head coach for 8 years at Fort Valley State. And look, I'm not disparaging anybody who works at Uber who's driven Uber before. I tried it before. I just can't have people in my car. I was like, man, y'all killing me. But I did do content for another network back in the day that I won't speak on because they are defunct now, where I did content around rideshare and other side hustle things. So I understand it, but I really hate that was a situation. And I especially hate that possibly led to his death. So again, rest in peace. Gosh, we got to stop. Man, I wish we just didn't have to talk about a lot of stuff, but it deserves its place. All right, y'all. Y'all know what this is. Shilo Sanders, which, let me say this. I like Shilo. I really do. I like Shilo Sanders. And I thought that he was one of the people who really took a love and appreciation to his time at Jackson State. He was determined to walk across that stage as a graduate. And, you know, that just kind of is what it is. He just caught a little bit of ire on some statements that he made that went viral. I want to pull up exactly where it was. This isn't coming to us from a website, but Shilo recently participated. Okay, of course, this is killing me. This is killing me. All right, Shilo recently participated at the Shrine Bowl. He was mentioned as a standout. There were a lot of people who were kind of going in on Shilo because they saw some clips and they're like, "Hey, man, you ain't no Shador. You ain't this, you ain't that." And so he was actually questioned about those statements. And so let me just go ahead and pull up the clip. In the midst of it, he mentioned or made a reference to Cheeto Von Satan, President Trump. Let's just play the clip real quick.
I mean, if you just hate me or you want to hate me, then, hey, hold on, bro, hold on. And if you just want to hate, yeah.
Okay, wait. Let's go back some.
I'm training in Colorado. Not a lot of distractions out there, so I can really just grind so I can run this 4.4 because that's what I'm striving for right now, that 4.4.
Say that again, your goal is what for 40-yard dash?
4.4.
Okay, love that. And then you talked about those little clips that people posted out there. What do you want people to know?
I mean, if you just hate me or you want to hate me, then, hey, hold on, bro, hold on. And if you just want to hate, yeah, of course, paint me in a bad picture. They do that to our president. They do that to everybody, you know, so I'm not going to be safe from it. But it does get aggravated whenever you put in work and you're working on your craft and people just steadily destroying you. But it really don't matter. You know, I just care about what the scouts think. I care about what Coach Prime thinks and my family think. And I got a good circle around me, so I really don't let that stuff affect me. It's just really stupid. People always just try to destroy you, and I don't do nothing bad to nobody.
All right. So listen, again, I like Shilo. And I agree with his overall sentiment. His overall sentiment was you got to keep your circle tight. There are going to be some people who hate just for the sake of hating. That is a true statement. What caught everybody's attention was he said, like they do our president. And that's what went viral. And, you know, whether you agree or you don't agree, I thought that this statement by Stephen Gaither of HBCU Game Day made a good point that I wanted to flesh out a little bit. Said, seriously, what is it about football that makes black men lean right politically? Clearly not all, but many. Now, I've had this discussion, gosh, I can't tell you how many times, especially coming from the high school that I came from, and knowing a lot of those football players, growing up with them, and just seeing how standout athletes are treated versus other athletes. Especially when you're coming from, I mean, because this starts early on, right? We're talking about, they identify these players in elementary, middle school, particularly in high schools when they start to really dig into it. And there's this veil of faux white privilege that a lot of these players enjoy. It's a shield almost from, just like he said, his coaches, the scouts, this, to that. This is exactly what Shilo just said. And so in a lot of senses, they will try to shield them from these types of things that go on within the community. And as they matriculate through high school and then into college, depending on where they're going, depending on how many stars they're ranked when they come out of high school, it continues, right? So what you end up having is these young Black men and Black women who are these star athletes that are so sheltered into thinking, because they're enjoying a glimpse of a privilege that their white counterparts kind of live with throughout their entire life, they tend to gravitate towards it. And it's not everybody. Obviously, it's not everybody. But even when you look, when you talk about Division I colleges, and this is something that Shador talked about how, at Jackson State, a lot of those guys, you see your counterparts at the Alabamas, the Ole Miss, the Auburns, the UGAs, the Texas A&M, and the NCAA rules are so strict on them that they don't, he was surprised to see there were football players at Jackson State who had jobs. Well, I'm not being funny. We definitely knew that. What's going on, Doc? So it's not uncommon that people in that position, and you got to think, Shilo, Shador, and Shalomi, and all of them, before they were identified as star athletes, purely because of their father, they had a veil of privilege that a lot of other people who look like them just don't have. And so I don't think that he was saying it in a way, I think he just has a different perspective. And the other part of it is there's just some people who support Donald Trump that are Black, rich and poor. That's not my place to tell you what to do or what not to do. But to answer Steven's question more specifically, yeah, I mean, as much as we like Shilo, we're not going to act like this isn't par for the course of an athlete in his position. And I don't think that it makes him a bad person, but I do think that it should bring light to the fact that, yeah, you do have this veil of, man, Doc, I can't wait for you to speak on it. Are you going to talk about it on the show? I cannot wait for you to speak on it. And what's crazy, when we were talking last week, you told me that you were you told me that that you were headed there, and it just didn't dawn on me. So I can't wait to good deal. Let me know when you go live. I'm gonna be in the comments because I want to get your thoughts on it. But again, athletes in general enjoy a privilege that a lot of other students don't. This starts at elementary, it works its way up all through college. All right, yeah, y'all make sure y'all log in HBCU Overdrive at 7 p.m. on YouTube. He also broadcasts on Twitter. So HBCU Overdrive on Twitter, HBCU. Well, Doc, it's because of course I'm blanking right now. I'm blanking. Let me just go ahead and HBCU Overdrive on Twitter and on YouTube, 7 p.m. Central Time. Make sure y'all locked in for it. But there is a veil of white privilege that these athletes are showered in. My god brother, I can't remember the dude's name. The guy that the Blind Side was made about. My god brother played on the team with him in Memphis, and he talked about for years the difference in how other members of the team were treated versus, I think Michael was his name. I'd like to know if he was talking about. I don't think so. I got to be honest with you. I don't think that he was talking about presidents in general. I think he was talking specifically about Donald Trump. But he talked about how there was a difference in how those athletes were treated. And it puts you in those rooms with the people who support someone like a Donald Trump. And many times your endorsements, your upward mobility, your media coverage, all things that are tied to your brand are contingent on those people who support someone like Donald Trump. So I think it's important to realize that. I think it's important to also know, because let's be real, there was a few people who felt that way about Colin Kaepernick before he took the knee. So it's not everybody, but I do think that it is. I do think it's part of the culture of it, and I think it's something that just as collegiate sports continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger each year, we're going to see more of. All right, we're going to take our next commercial break. When we come back, fam topics. We're going to blaze through those fam topics, and I'm going to get y'all out of here. It's been a long hour. It's In the Quad with Nick Eden.
Happy birthday, Dad.
Happy birthday.
I got you something.
We said no gift.
We had to get you something.
Thank you, honey.
I got you this.
Did you do this yourself?
Yeah, I had a great teacher.
Happy birthday.
I love you.
I love you too.
Love you. Thank you.
This is from me to you.
I am genius.
No charger?
It's a Mac. The battery lasts all day. See you next week.
Wow. Hey, Jay, this project might need a bit of zhuzhing. Hollaback, Warren.
Please let me know your thoughts. Best regards, Warren.
I am genius.
All right, y'all. Y'all already know what time it is. It is time for BAM! Fam Topics, my favorite part of the show. This is where I hear from you all. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love getting all of your feedback, even though some of y'all be way out of pocket. But Uncle Samson is a good person to kind of feel through all of that. So let's get right into it. Our first comment comes from how the hell are we supposed to get through the next 4 years? Listen, bear down, save your money, invest, get some certifications. If you can, go back, get another degree, start a business, start a side hustle. Try to find something. I'm gonna tell you something right now. Try to find something that's going to get you at least another $500 to $1,000 a month. I don't care how much money you make. If you can find something that in a passive, or if you got the time in an active way, can get you another $500 to $1,000 a month, you will be swiftly ahead of the game. And I was talking to my dad the other night about this. He was talking about how my great grandmother, how she was during the Depression. After the Depression, and they lost all their money in the banks. They were like, look, we ain't never put they had money in socks, and they still did. What's crazy is I was really blessed and fortunate on my father's side to, though I was very young, I still have memories of both of my great grandmothers. And even I remember, man, it was money in socks, money in books, money under the mattress. Look, get your money, save your money, because we have no idea what's gonna happen. We have no idea what's gonna happen. What's going on, Dr. Carey? Dr. Carey, what's going on? Shout out to you. So yeah, that's how we get through it. I mean, listen, it's a lot of stuff that economics won't solve, true, but it'll help a lot of situations. And those of us who were adults during the 08 recession know exactly what I mean. All right, what else we got? Is it bad that I still eat some of those HBCU struggle meals? All right, so for those who don't know, I talked yesterday about Tuesday Top 10. This coming Tuesday is the Tuesday Top 10 struggle meals you had at your HBCU. Is it bad that you still eat some of those HBCU struggle meals? Listen, I had some ramen noodles earlier today. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. If the meal is good to you, it's good. Now, I don't know exactly what the hell you were eating, but I got to be honest. Some of those meals can still go. Like I can still make up a whole meal in the microwave like it's nobody's business. But you know, hey, it just kind of is what it is. Some of y'all still rocking them lonely man dinners. Hey, do what you got to do, man. I probably can't eat any more Salisbury steak like the ones they had before. Cause good Lord. Anyway, but yeah, do you think? And y'all, if you want to get your suggestions for Tuesday Top 10 struggle meals you had at your HBCU, head over to my socials at Nick Eden on Twitter, at Nick Eden on IG, at Nick Eden on Facebook. Click the link tree in the bio, submit your struggle meal, and we'll get it on the show. All right, what we got next? With FAMU's new schedule out, it seems like they are primed to run it back to ATL. You know what? And I should have I honestly forgot that this was one of them. FAMU, I think 9 of their 12 games are played in the state of Florida. Hold on for a second. Yeah, FAMU football schedule. Let's see. Let's pull it up. We know that they are in the Orange Blossom. They're headed back to the Orange Blossom Classic. It's going to be there we go. All right. They're headed back to the Orange Blossom Classic. They're going to take on Howard. So this is going to be a rematch from okay. It's going to be a rematch from the Celebration Bowl. Is it coming up on this end? Okay, I know I went crazy. All right. Okay, so 2025 FAMU schedule. They got Howard at the Orange Blossom Classic in Miami Gardens. They play September 6th at FAU. September 13th is a home game versus Albany State. September 27th is a home game versus Alabama State. October 4th, they go to Itabena to take on Valley. October 11th, they're back in Bragg to take on Central. October 18th, Alcorn State is homecoming. They are at Southern the next week. November 1st, they got Jackson State. Then they're off to UAPB. November 15th, they're at A&M, and then they're in Orlando for the Florida Classic against Bethune-Cookman. So, okay, here's the deal. I would say, if with the exception of FAU, their road games are lending to their favor. Although it's going to be difficult to beat Southern in the Bluff. They got UAPB in Arkansas. They got A&M, depending on how Sam Shade does. I mean, it could be a rebuilding year. It just really depends. At Valley, they're trying to get back at Valley. They're going to be gunning for them. So But yeah, I mean, most of their games are at home or in the state of Florida. But let me go ahead and say this. That is no guarantee. That is no guarantee for anything. And the reason I'm saying that is because last year, because you never know what's going to happen. Last year, 9 of our 12 games, Alabama State, was played in the state of Alabama. Right? Now, even with all the hiccups and the injuries that we faced, we still ended up with a relatively high position in the SWAC East. But it's no guarantee that just because you're going to have home advantage from most of your games, and it also lends itself to the fact that in 2026, your road games are going to be hell. And we're not talking, this is not a shot at Colsey, but we're not talking about a Willie Simmons-led Florida A&M. So I don't know. This is one of those situations where, do I think that they're a favorite? I think, and again, spring games are going to really show us a glimpse of what this is going to look like. But I do think that with the SWAC East being as competitive as it is, at any given time, right now, I don't see how preseason picks don't have Jackson State going back to the Celebration Bowl. I don't see, based on recruiting, based on the transfer portal, based on, the consistency in coaches. There's a lot of coaching changes that are happening. Because if I'm Jackson State, I'm looking at 4 teams. If I'm Jackson State, I'm looking at 4 teams in the SWAC going into the fall. I'm looking at Grambling. I'm looking at Alabama State. I'm looking at FAMU. I'm looking at Alcorn. Right? Now, if I'm looking at those teams, I'm seeing Alabama State, coaching changes, quarterback changes. If I'm looking at Florida A&M, I'm looking at coaching changes, quarterback changes, some key pieces that are lost, and we haven't seen the full effect of the transfer portal just yet. If I'm looking at Grambling, I'm looking at coaching changes, quarterback changes. If I'm looking at Southern, I'm looking at quarterback so I'm looking at them, and then I'm looking at JSU. Again, I don't see how preseason doesn't have Jackson State going back in. But again, we'll never know until we get, 1, we see the spring game, 2, we see the rosters going into the fall, and we see the other schedules. We have to see, because so far, what we've seen, has Alcorn schedule come out yet? I know PV schedule has come out. I know Southern schedules come out. We haven't seen Grambling. Alabama State's going to be next Wednesday. We've seen FAMU, but we haven't seen JSU. I'm just saying, there's a lot of factors that go into this. So I can't say that based on them having a favorable home schedule, that automatically means that they are going back to Atlanta, because they still got to get past the defending champions. They still got to get past, because, again, you had a close game up until the 4th when they pulled away from Alabama State, and that was with a 5th-string quarterback who now can lead, and you got 3 other quarterbacks coming back healthy. All I'm saying is it's too early to say that. Wish them the best of luck, but it's too early to say that. Y'all, I appreciate everybody who took an hour out of their day to lock in with me for In the Quad with Nick Eden. We will be back on Monday, and I'm going to plan something special, semi-calendar related for Monday. So make sure that you tune into that. Don't forget to, if you're watching this on YouTube, like the stream, share it, click the bell for notifications. If you're watching this on Twitter, make sure that you follow the HBCU Plus page. And if you're watching it on both of those, make sure that you also download the UEN app for free, where you can check out In the Quad on the HBCU Plus channel, along with a ton of other content from the HBCU AC, the NBA G League, the NAIA, and Grambling State University. I appreciate everybody. I want y'all to have a phenomenal weekend. There's some good basketball being played this weekend, so make sure that you're supporting HBCUs, and I will see you all same time Monday